think we're live everywhere. I did the everyone hates some idea of I went and invited everyone to this event on Facebook.
The at everyone?
Yeah. No, I didn't add everyone. I did not do that. I should have done that. Now that you say that, let's go do that.
To be honest, I hate it.
Oh, me too.
When people do that. But I do it now if I have if I'm posting tickets for sale, like Iowa State football tickets or basketball tickets or whatever.
It'll soon go away. There's no way that it keeps letting me do that.
I think it'll be admin allowed. Only admin can do it. Because where I'm in the Boostly Facebook, so Mark Simpson does it every time he posts. Add everyone. Check this out. It's like, oh gosh.
Right.
Simpson does it every time he posts. Add everyone.
Terrible.
There we go. First comment. Don't add everyone. That's the worst.
Done deal. Just did it. Matt, if you want to leave because I did that, I apologize. But it just happened. It's only the worst if it's not valuable. We're bringing value here.
Hey Darson, I'm going to copy these 4 links. For some reason, I can't post into all the comments like you can. So I'm just going to put them in the private chat, and then you can copy and paste them and put them in everybody's chat.
Okay. Let's see if I can figure out how to do that. That link is what?
The first one is there's 4 of them. You could just put them in. They don't have to be in order. You can just put them all in.
The problem with this is it just says Facebook user. I got to figure out who's talking here.
I'm curious.
Yeah, that's Matt. Julie said, "Hey, Julie Mozena, what's up?" Trevin Quant, you're watching, man. You're at my wedding. I just came to your wedding, brother. I haven't seen you forever.
Julie said, "Hey."
Bad.
No, you're good. Those of you that are joining us, thank you. We'll get started here in just a bit. No prizes. I'll give you a high five, I guess. But we'll get started. We're going to talk about short-term rentals today. What the numbers are showing, what the good owners are doing, what the bad owners are seeing or not seeing in the Des Moines market, right? So we started this 3 quarters ago, I want to say. And the intent is that there just isn't anyone that's sharing useful knowledge about short-term rentals, in my opinion, in the Des Moines market. And that was missing for quite a while. And we, Cole and I and 2 other guys started a short-term rental management company, operation company, whatever. And it made us really dig into the numbers. And it's fascinating to me. And those of you that have listened to me before, the short-term rental numbers, the data around it is so much more transparent and open comparative to the long-term data, long-term tenant rents, quality of units data. It's so much more open. So you can, if you're good, you can really see what your competition is doing and beat them, and they can do the same to you. And we're seeing a lot of that today. So we're a couple minutes into it. There's a good couple dozen folks on the line. So Cole, let's start. Introduce yourself, and then I'll do the same.
Yes. So, Cole Chesson, I have some investment properties. Partner on the Des Moines short-term rental company, property management company, on short-term rental, specifically very much geared at that, on Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com stuff. that end. And really my primarily function in that whole world is the books and data, but really data. I live in Pella, Iowa. I am a product manager for Vermeer as my W-2 job. And then, like I said, I have 9 doors in Des Moines. Hopefully adding some more here soon. But
yeah, cool. And myself, I'm investor and real estate agent here in Des Moines. My name's Darson Grantham. Probably know most of you folks. I appreciate you joining. Appreciate you all being active in this Des Moines real estate meetup group. I know some of you guys are watching on Facebook. Some of you guys are on YouTube. I met with someone for coffee this morning, and they're like, "Which of these Facebook groups is the best one?" And I was like, "Well, the one, not to be full of myself, but the one that actually is actively managed is going to give you the least amount of spam and crap information." Now, there's other good posts in the other ones, good conversations, but yeah, appreciate everyone. And if you do have any questions, that group is just full of knowledge. So post and don't be shy of what questions you have and if you should or shouldn't post. Just go ahead and post. So and I guess, yeah, so I've got a handful of rentals, and one of the properties we started short-term renting to test out our business theory was one of my units in one of my less than stellar properties, really low income tenants, and we turned it into an Airbnb, and it's performed as good as long-term or better with a lot less headache than what a typical tenant of that nature is going to bring. So that was, and yeah, we've evolved from there, but okay, so let's see here. Someone's reposting. I don't know.
no, I just added some stuff. So I want to start with this first. Really, all right. So we're all prevalent to the news. Obviously, everyone voted yesterday, right? But I think a piece of this is there are 4 links, and if you can decipher through all of them, right? I'm really trying to set us up for okay, so Airbnb. So this kind of gonna get a little Airbnb, but that is where 70-ish, 69% of all listings are on. I believe, if I can go back and check the data, but we'll see here in a second. But a majority of them are on Airbnb, right? So if we all remember in the headlines, or if this is the first time you heard about it, right? The Airbnb CEO, his name's Brian, about first part of August said he isn't happy where business growth is, and he wants hosts to lower their prices, and we need to get our house in order, right? There's a lot of articles on that, which is interesting when, as a CEO, coming out and saying that and really actually pressing his hosts that or the people that have the value add to his company that he is utilizing to make money for himself and his business, right? He's made a great platform, right? A lot of outside platforms, direct booking websites, all that stuff have tailored to what they have done. Turns around, and on November 1, they come out with their financial reportings, right? They're a publicly traded company that they can do that. He talks about, and I think it's interesting because he talks about how us as hosts are the problem and why we are losing revenue and why their company is losing revenue to hotels, or demand is down, or you can kind of privilege through all that. But then they come out with their financial reportings November 1 for Q3 business insights, and high level, they are revenue wise up 18% year over year. Those that know what EBITDA means is really, they're like a cash flow in a sense. It's taking out their overhead dollars, what they have in business expenses, this and that. But their EBITDA dollars were 1.8 billion, 26% up year over year. And then there is money tied up in EBITDA, but their free cash flow dollars was 1.3 billion dollars, 37% up year over year to what it was. So I find it interesting that he a month ago said, hey, hosts, you need to lower your prices, to then turns around and they charge a 17% fee to every booking. A lot of us charge that 15% to the guests, and hosts take that 3% or 2.5% or whatever that is. It's about 17% all in all. Really pressed us instead of, hey, get your dollars in order on what you're charging guests or charging hosts in a lot of ways. And they still were up a lot of money and have quite a bit of cash flow. So
how much like Airbnb feels like the free market, right? So like him saying, hey, owners, you need to lower your prices. Like if you're an owner, I mean, yeah, it's individualized and, some are like, you're just doing what's best for you. Like no one's like, I need to make sure Airbnb is, if they need to be more profitable, it'll go from 17% to 25%, right? Like I mean, that's the answer. So it's interesting. As someone who I used to work for a publicly traded company, and I would listen to the earnings call, and it's such a dog and pony show, every single one of those, because they can't say anything relevant, right? Because it's going to change the ticker symbol or the stock price. So I say they have to just be very, very generic, bitch about things that don't. Yeah. Anywho, okay, so that's one. You're in a lot of the Airbnb groups. Did you see anyone comment on that of like, this guy's an idiot, or like what was that sentiment?
I mean, that was a lot of it, right? I really took that kind of with a grain of salt. What a lot of people were saying is, he talks about in articles and in the interview that like their opportunity of revenue is they're doing well, right? But they're losing bookings to other platforms or hotels or whatnot. And that's what he's showing is, I think when you extrapolate everything that he said, he's really like, there's this much opportunity. We lost X amount of that opportunity in there because of pricing. That's how I look at that, right? And I think that's where, a lot of the feedback from those groups will start your own direct booking website if you don't want to deal with it. Start your own or use other platforms and don't use Airbnb anymore, right? But I think it goes back to like Airbnb set the foundation in a lot of ways for a marketing standpoint. Not that there weren't direct booking websites before and whatnot, but Airbnb kind of took that to the next level and from a marketing standpoint and a platform, which they should get all the credit in the world for that, right? But kind of goes from there. So news source update, right? That's really all I wanted to bring up. I'm kind of over that now, but let's talk through the next thing. So about 4 hours ago, Airbnb launched their winter update as well. And really, I don't know, it brings up, high level, those are in the chat as well. High level, it's introducing this listings tab so you can better change your listings, do your listings on a smartphone. That's kind of a difficult piece today versus going to your app, and they're changing all this stuff left and right. And how it's powered and how the algorithm works from your listing guide. So this is a good feature, I think, for them. He talks about it's over a year to get them to where they were going to be. And then lastly, like the whole market has switched to smart locks, right? They have a smart lock integration AI tool now that can help do some of those things. So like we use August Lock specifically. We have the app, but we have it connected with our host away to definitely do this stuff. But now you can start to do that through Airbnb and whatnot. And then there's a few other ancillary things from a dashboards, this and that, right? The YouTube videos in there, I would highly recommend watching it for anybody out there that just wants to learn real quick. But those are, I guess, the articles and understanding what those mean, the financial reportings of how the kind of opposite of what he just told us, and then what the release is, right? Those are 3 public stories that I think are interesting that as those that are on the Airbnb platform should be aware of, as they definitely affect you as the host out there, and in a few ways. And it may not be major effects, but from a downstream standpoint, right, it could cause ripples or not. And understanding what's going on in the news isn't bad from what Airbnb is doing specifically.
Yep, I would say like you want to watch the national news, but you want to then focus it in a local lens. Let's put it that way. And then the other two links that we put in there were YouTube videos to just get educated on the new rollout for Airbnb. Is that right, Cole?
Yes.
Cool.
And that just happened today. I was not aware of that. And all of a sudden I was on my phone before this and said, well, let's share this. A lot of people have Airbnbs or are using this. I mean, it'd be just an aware piece. So
yeah, sweet.
Cool. All right, let's jump to AirDNA. What another new platform everyone can see. So high level, AirDNA adjusted their platform 2 months ago, I think. It's way different than what it was before. High level, they instead of buying individual markets, you get all the markets. Your
Okay,
subscription.
Cole, take a step back. What is AirDNA do? Like, how many owners use it? What do other owners use besides AirDNA? Like, let's give us a 101 on that.
And so pricing and dollars, occupancy, all of that is reported in a lot of ways as short-term rental folks use different platforms to do pricing, do hosting stuff. Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com outsources their data in some ways. So there are companies like PriceLab has a market dashboard to do this. AirDNA has this. I believe Wheelhouse has this as well. Don't quote me on that one, but these companies are taking all of this data that is API'd everywhere, and putting it together and giving how markets are performing, what the average is by bedrooms, what the average is by bathrooms, amenities, and kind of what is pieced together on book nights, not book nights, and really taking all the data and making dashboards to then, hey, this is what the data is doing for short-term rentals as a whole. So two that I use are AirDNA and PriceLab's the market dashboard version, right? It's using both, and sometimes one's a little off, so let's verify the other one if you're questioning. But it's using two sources to really understand the full picture.
Anyone that does their own or manages their own properties, put in the comments what other programs you use. I always like to just stay in the know of what else there is out there. Because you said AirDNA, and then what was the other? PriceLabs?
PriceLabs, the market dashboard portion.
Yeah. So you don't have to have these things if you're managing your own, but if you're doing more than a couple, I think it'd make a lot of sense, and maybe even just one. Who knows?
So AirDNA changed their whole platform from a visual standpoint and how it is. I think it was like 2.5 months ago, maybe 3 at this point. But really, you don't pay by the market; you pay by what you get within. So where we were at in our market and how much we had bought as a company, right? It put us in the not the final tier, but the tier before. The next tier up is like $1,400 a month. I would say that that is large corporation, those that are really invested in the data, right? We get 3 years of data is what I'll show you versus the 5 years. We don't get insights on properties like we had before. But I mean, there's a few of those things. But one of the things that AirDNA did do a good job on was data protection. So before you could click on things and actually end up on the Airbnb site specifically or VRBO site specifically. I don't know, don't quote me, I'm not a lawyer here, but I bet there was some data privacy laws with some of that stuff is why stop doing some of those things, which makes it a little bit more difficult. Doesn't mean you can go the hard way and find the similar pictures and do it that way, right? But that's a few things that they did. They also gave you rankings, and it's just a little bit different. They did not get rid of their tools or any tools that I'm aware of. However, they have added some features, like it's connected to the MLS now, so that you can get for sale data, property stuff, information that way. And then you still get the rentalizer, and that's up here in the top corner, so you can, or in the top, so you can still see all those things. That stuff's free as well. The for sale's free as well, so it kind of gives you that setup. And like I said, you get the whole United States now, where you get to go look at things and discover different markets. And it gives you like Savannah, Georgia, right? I could go look and find problems or properties there, not just specifically Des Moines, like we paid for Des Moines before. So that's kind of what it is. But like, why are we here? In a lot of ways, people want to understand what's happening in Des Moines. So I guess my 30-second take in Des Moines is listings are starting to trickle down. Revenue is down. Occupancy is down. Booking demand is very similar to what it was in 2022 and 2021. Maybe up some from 2020 and 21 to 22 and 23. However, there are, and you can see here, there are, and specifically the Des Moines zip codes. So the submarkets, we very, very much went from, just want to make sure my listings are right here, 400. So we'll just go to, it is November 2022. Let me get there. So we went from 529 to now there's 100 more listings versus what there was in 21. There was 300, so it's doubled, right? Demand stayed the same. So why does occupancy and revenue go down? Is everyone's fighting over the same bookings, in a lot of ways. That's probably the high level area of it. But there are still properties that are performing very well. So, do you have any questions?
No, I mean that. Yeah. So let's dig. When you say that, I guess what I hear is there's the same number of people booking stuff in Des Moines. So the travel here is fine. It isn't, that is not down. That's not the reason that owners are not doing as well as they did last year. There's fewer listings, or excuse me, there's more listings, but there's more listings year over year, less listings from last month. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so owners are realizing, hey, I'm not making as much as I thought I was going to, or they're saying, hey, the prices are high enough, let's just sell this and be done. Right? I mean,
correct. There are people that are taking their property off said platform, because if you block calendar dates, so like right now we have a midterm rental in one of our units, right? We have calendar blocks. It's still on Airbnb, so it's still a listing. It's just showing up as it's occupied at that time, right? But I mean, we can get to some strategies outside of this of how do you get to increase that revenue with Airbnb and VRBO having lower, or you're fighting for more booking demand versus each other. The demand's still there. It's just you're fighting with more listings for that. Yeah. So I mean, kind of where that train of thought was headed is like there's our listings are going down, so people are exiting the market and taking their listings off and doing another strategy of some sort. So,
yep. One person, Julie mentioned, doesn't, the location matters on the rental. And that is true. Like, there's no question anyone's going to argue that. What we're looking at is just the whole market in general. So like, you and I are realtors, and we both understand that you can say the Des Moines market is doing this, but when you look at the pocket of south of Grand, it's doing something completely different than the whole market. So yes, location matters. Right now, we're not getting into exact location. We're just saying in general, the Des Moines metro market. That's the data.
I think a good example of this is the Valley Junction, West Des Moines pocket, right? Like, I mean, that one, there are a ton of listings in that area. That is a very...
Can you zoom in further?
Yeah.
When you say a ton, like...
Well, it's telling me that zip code has 50 listings.
And just because a number without a comparison is hard, compare it to the south side of Des Moines.
We'll even do the Drake area.
Perfect. Drake's got to have more.
I would guess. They'll tell us here in a second. Maybe not. 96. Double. About double.
That would make sense.
So, but
what stands out about the Valley Junction area? What stands out to you in that data? Because clearly it's a lot to you. Why is it not
the opportunity? So I'm kind of looking at these scores because they score by their revenue opportunity, the occupancy. It's just a score that you should high level look at, then dive in deep to understand, right? So so when I think of that score, right, first off, you're paying more for housing in that area, likely. I mean, if you look at median zip code dollars, yep, sale price across, but your average revenue isn't that much more comparative to. So like you score on that zip code, right? And like that is a desirable area for nice places, right? But you're also fighting over prices. So like when you think of investing, right, that's where I mean that is an area I would struggle with right now, just because like you're paying more. You look at your cash on cash numbers, this and that, right? That's what drive me to that conclusion pretty quickly.
So the price of the house is higher, and the amount of Airbnb revenue or short-term rental revenue that's coming in doesn't justify that higher price. Similar to long-term, I mean, it's probably very similar. Cool. Let's do that with a couple other neighborhoods. I'm just curious. Like, can you do like, what was I'll let you pick a couple neighborhoods. I'm just curious digging into neighborhood wise.
So like Linden, the Linden Heights area, right? I mean, so we have 2 listings in that area. Specifically, I mean, that's for us, right? I mean, when you think of the downtown district right here, if you guys can see my mouse, right? I mean, there's a lot of properties around there. It's an opportunity for guests to walk to that area. There's 98 listings in that area, right? It's close-ish to downtown. It's a simple Uber ride down or a taxi or whatnot downtown. But there is still things to do in that area around there, right? But when you think of, I mean, our 2 properties specifically, right? I mean, one's within a spit shot to that area, and the other one's 2 blocks away. From what we would have expected with the September and October, we haven't done as well as, but I mean, when you look at the volume, and the top properties, in this area by a revenue standpoint, I mean, you can start to see, I mean, there's some of the top properties are still not hitting revenue numbers that they had in 2021, 2022. And they're, I mean, what was this large modern 4-bedroom house? Was that not the number 1 Airbnb ranked Airbnb for 2022, if I'm mistaken?
Let's click on it.
See, this is different. It takes us.
No, it's the one beside it. That gray one beside it is the one that won the best, like. And that might have been in 21. A gal in our office owns it. But Cool.
But I mean,
when you said Linden
but we
Heights,
can go down.
you're talking like north of Ingersoll, right?
Mhm.
That's
But I mean, but you can start to see the occupancy here, right? Look at, I mean, this is all bedrooms, whole market in that zip code, right? 50311. I mean, here is your 3-year average. So we look at July was the best month, right? In 21 and 22, they're 10% more occupancy than they were what any of those listings had. Active listings in July had, they're 10% more. I mean, that's 10% of 30 days is a weekend, a nice weekend, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at September, oofda.
Yeah. Cool. Let's see what else.
That's another area. Another area, I guess, that we're hearing about is Ankeny's starting to do some more. I mean, I guess I really haven't dug too much into it. We can look at it here for a second. I'm curious on the rental growth aspect of listings. So there's 30 listings now, available listings. From a year ago, there was 20, so 10 additional listings in that area. Percentage wise is a pretty big increase. As well. And I guess
I know
another thing to look at.
in the past we've done your 1-2 versus 1 bed versus 2 bed versus 3 bed. Can you show any trends for that? What's if you are bringing something on market, how competitive is each type of unit?
Mm-hmm. So this is 2 beds in Ankeny. They're so this is revenue per month in 2 beds. This is in Ankeny. So this is the 50313 zip code. But here's your rolling. I mean, here's your, sorry, get my mouse out of the way, but you can start to see trend line, right? We can get dollar specific if there's questions about it, but trend line wise, right? They had a better July in 23 than they did in 21 and 22 from a revenue standpoint, right? And then you can do the same for occupancy as well.
And so revenue means more people were booking there in 23 than they did in 22.
Revenue is dollars coming in. So it's looking at their average daily rate with occupancy.
Okay.
And what their revenue was. But here's their occupancy, right? Occupancy was in the middle. So kind of where par would be on 2 beds, right? In July. But they did, I mean, the surprising piece is in September they had a closer occupancy. So then they did into 22, right? But in 2021, there's a lot of occupancy. I mean, this is a weird zip code to look at and there's just not a lot of volume there too.
That's what I was going to say. Ankeny is, I don't hear a lot of people Airbnb properties in Ankeny. It happens. Would you mind, because I asked you about this earlier, the vibrant music hall out in Waukee, you mind going and looking at that zip code? I'd like to see if there's a trend up in anything there.
There is not a selectable zip code out in Waukee.
What? Yeah, that's West Des Moines. Okay. There's not enough business out there?
Say not enough active listings to pull data from a zip code to give them a score, would be my guess.
Wow. I don't want to call that an opportunity, but I mean, Waukee's not going anywhere.
No.
Just pricey.
Sure. Oh, there are some questions. Are you paying attention to this?
It just came up. So no, I started at Airbnb. So what we're looking at, the AirDNA, it's only short-term rental, does not include, and correct me if I'm wrong, well, doesn't include medium term or long term unless it's booked through the sites.
So medium terms can show up.
Yeah.
However, it shows up in an occupancy rate and kind of gives a weird dollar amount because it's assuming you're booking at that listed dollar amount that you have on there, not what you maybe did through Furnish Finders, right? So here's an example. So our 1-bedroom that Darson's unit specifically, right? As a strategy, we understood that, hey, stuff is down right now, but there's demand for MTRs in Des Moines. So we as that strategy, midterm rental that 1-bedroom for a 5-month, 4-month contract, right? So it's still on Airbnb, getting clicks. It's still on VRBO, getting clicks. It's just blocked off. So this site, so AirDNA or Price Labs or anyone getting data, receiving data from Airbnb, seeing that, hey, these are full. So it's kind of adjusting the occupancy from there. And then it's full at this price that they have. That is our Price Labs or a Wheelhouse or another dynamic pricing tools feeding price into it at this price. So it's kind of throwing it off and skewing it a little bit from that end of it. But I mean, it's starting to show it. It's showing up, and there, I would say your winter months are going to get more skewed here at some time. I would say, not say this year, but in the future years, because people are going to start doing this strategy a little bit more. Because I mean, there are, not telling everyone to jump ship, but there are. I mean, when you look at the market as a whole, as Des Moines, like revenue is significantly down. September was the worst.
You're nicely saying that there are a lot of owners that are doing terrible in short-term rentals, right? Like they're not hitting numbers of 20, 21, 22, right? That doesn't always mean that they're like underwater. Depends on the property, depends on the owner when they bought it. You got to think there are a lot of owners out there that and Cole and I have talked about this. They aren't doing this for like, to make crazy money. They're just paying their mortgage and making a little bit of extra, and they kind of enjoy hosting people. There's probably more of those owners than we give credit to, and they don't care that much. It's the ones that bought in the last 3 years that are trying to make money, Airbnb, short-term rental, and they're like they bought at a price where the only thing that works is short-term rental, they think, to pay the mortgage and make a profit. And if you're not doing that well, and that's you, like that's the struggle. That's who's going to sell.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is revenue, and this is the entire market of Des Moines. So of those, it's just like 800 listings, right? Right. I mean, September was, it was in 21, it was about 3,000 whole market. 22 is 2,500 whole market. In 23, average revenue was $2,000. You look at October and you're still getting 2020 number. You are just $100 above what you did in 2020 as a whole market, right? And it's the winter months, so it's only going down, right? Like your November and December and January into February. I mean, it's just the start of the bottom end of it. And I mean, not just being honest, right? I mean, it's tough to stomach some of that when you're not making to cover your mortgage. And don't get me wrong, you could have had a good July. You could have had a good June and August, right? I mean, but like when you looked at the whole and what your rolling 12 looks like, is that enough? That's the question.
Yep. And it definitely is a per property thing, and we're kind of throwing big picture numbers out there. But we know for everyone that's doing really well, there's someone that's doing way worse than the average, way worse. So one of the questions was Prairie Ridge. sports up in Ankeny. There's no hotels in the area. Michael had that question. Ankeny, even though there's a sports complex, it's huge, and there's no hotels that are real close to Ankeny. If you're from out of town and you're playing sports at Prairie Ridge, because you can get there in 20 minutes from pretty much anywhere else in the metro, maybe not anywhere, but a lot of other places, there doesn't need to be something really close, because the amenities that your family is going to do during the in-between games that isn't in Ankeny anyway, right? Like, it's downtown, or it's maybe in the district, but there isn't that much activities in Ankeny to have to book a living space, a hotel or a Airbnb close to the sports complex, in my experience, in my conversations with people. Let's see, what other questions? As amenities and guest experience go up, they play a bigger role in the number of listings. Lots of potential for people to improve listings to increase revenue. Like, I mean, I'll talk on this and Cole can chirp in here too. Yes, if you have a listing and it is sucking, that doesn't mean your listing sucks. It means you have to improve your business, right? Like, you have to look at the data points to make a difference. If you log in, let's see here. I'm going to change a banner real quick. If you email us right here, this does say preset filter for blah, blah. If you email us at Des Moines short-term rental, Des Moines STR at Gmail, we'll send you a PDF of basically the steps that we take owners through to make sure their property it looks good, it photos good. You've done everything possible to maximize, not everything, but almost everything possible to maximize the view of the property when people are booking it. Cole, do you have anything to add there?
I mean, so I'm guessing, I'm just going to take a stab here, that everyone or 99% of the people listening to this are investors. And those investors are out to make money and or somehow connected to this market from a money standpoint. Right?
And that's okay, Cole. Let's be clear here. It's okay to make money, right?
It's okay. That's why we do this. That's why we do this. Now, I will argue that the short-term rental space has turned into a hospitality company, and having an experience for your guest is really what's paying off and getting your next booking. Your reviews matter, your amenities matter, your free stuff in the place matters, right? All those things kind of come into play, and that's why people are booking. That's what's driving traffic, driving clicks in Airbnb and the algorithm, like putting you to the top. So when you are not getting clicks, that's something to definitely think about, is what new amenities, what new photos, what are things they're doing listings. And if you want to compare a good listing to, if you're not on the first page or the second page or the third, fourth, or fifth, right, and you're on the sixth and back, right, look at the first page. Go to I guess here's an example.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's pull up a listing that you're like, this one needs help, and here's a good one.
I don't want to call someone out. So this is the first page, right? Care. This is the first page. I literally looked up Des Moines, 5 guests any weekend, right? Look, these properties showed up, right? And now we're a member of Rank Breeze, so I can look at properties and I can get their data pretty quick here. But I just getting it, right? But I mean, I look at this property. They're a super host. What's the first thing that drew me in?
Sorry, I see that white one down in Middlebrook. I thought it sold. I didn't think it was still available. Interesting. Anyway, sorry.
It's a guest favorite, right? So a lot of people have favorited that property. We can just look at that, right? When you find this property, what happens? They have excellent photos.
Yeah.
They have photos that are very similar to what it looks like when you walk in the place. In a lot of ways, they have a lot of photos. It's staged nice. They are talking about amenities with, like, you have bikes. They are showing there's a playground close. There's different pictures, bands, this and that. I mean, they have put in a lot of work to the photo aspect of it. on top of that, it has 24 reviews out of 5-star. Guests have favored it in a lot of places, right? And that's just the start of it, right? And then as a whole, right? I mean, the next 90 days, it's booked 45% of the time. So, but I mean, if you really want to do just a true, really easy comparison, look in the area. So here, I know we have let me find where I'm at. Oh, what did I do? Something went wrong. We have a listing in this area, it's 2 of them. So, boom. How do you, I mean, are you in the top 6 or 8? Airbnb says, or sorry, the data says if you're not in the top 6 or 8, you're likely not getting clicked through.
This is where it comes into, it's so much more of a business than an investment. Like real estate investment, it's marketing, it's click-through rate, it's visuals, it's hospitality. It's so fascinating to me that, and it's slowly transitioning that way. I think more owners will start realizing that, and they'll either get out of it or hire someone to do it, or do it themselves and learn, because they like, reading the click-through rate and reading how they're performing against others. But it's super interesting.
I mean, and there's softwares out there. I mean, RankBreeze is one of them. I mean, we started a free subscription, and now we bought into it, right? I mean, you can see we've done certain things so that we appeal to 5 guests more. And this week, right, we are number 10 for 5 guests, number 8 for 6 guests, number 7 for 10 guests. What are we at for 8 guests? I can click on here. Right? Nah, it's not gonna work for me. But like, we're in the top 10 for all guest counts for 4-bedroom. For when someone says they have this many guests. I mean, we are number 4 or 5 in the top 10 on those pages, and that's beneficial to getting clicks. I mean, that's where from a revenue standpoint, right? In October, that 4-bedroom house did about $3,200 in revenue. And we had a 62% occupancy, I believe.
So when you say that, like you go from one of, hey, Airbnb says you need to be top 6, otherwise you're not getting clicks, and you say, hey, our properties that we have are managing, we're like 8 to 10. That's because it's 8 to 10 across the entire metro versus a specific area, correct? I mean,
correct.
If we're measuring one of our properties, or someone else here is looking at theirs, you'd want to look at the zip code and see where you rank in the zip code, not necessarily across the entire city.
Correct. Right. I mean, and I would start in the zip code, but I mean, where we're at from our standpoint, right? I look at the big, like when someone travels here and they put like Des Moines, and I'm thinking Airbnb is struggling with traffic because they just came out with this thing and it's telling me, hey, there's too much traffic, right? But we're at from our standpoint of like, I want to know the best properties in Des Moines, like that's where I would be bigger. But if you start simple and work your way out, right? I mean, from a simple standpoint, put yourself down in a zip code-ish area and then allow that to perform from there. Yeah. Right.
So you try to like be the best in your zip code, and then be the best in the surrounding 3 zip codes, and then the best in the county, and then the best in the metro.
Yep.
A way to maximize.
Yeah. So
cool. Anything else you want to cover, Cole? And if you're in the chats or you're watching, if you have any questions or want us to dig in further, we are happy to. We have another 10, 15 minutes. What do you got, Cole?
I know you put something on Facebook Sunday about a strategy. So guys, one thing, and I think we're very open on sharing strategies of things we've done, is midterms definitely, like, we are way open to midterm rentals. That is a revenue booster in the winter months. If you can transition that and accept that your booking window is going to go down, but you're going to accept that, hey, I'm trying to get a midterm rental on a 4-month contract through my winter months. Go ahead. I mean, we did it. It's a good revenue booster for some 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. 3s, 4s, and 5s get a little bit more difficult, but a different strategy that we did on that was very much increase daily rate, average daily rate by 20%. And however, we are rewarding 5, 7, 10, 3-week, 4-week, month, or 2-month longs with major discounts. So we're not just getting every weekend booked, and we're ending up about 40% occupancy because we're only getting Friday night and Saturday night booked. We are here. I'll show you this. This is where another data point come into play and how we as a team talk through this from a strategy standpoint. So I don't know how length of stay. So of the nights booked, you can see that 1 day and 2 day is a small portion. And I'm looking specifically at this chart, is a small portion, but 3 days, 4 or 5, longer than a week, and to 15 and 20 days, there's a pretty large portion, right? You don't want to take out these 2-dayers because, I mean, there's a lot of bookings in there, but you want to reward and be more what's the word I'm looking for? You want to reward, but have a better price structure to attract these, because that's guaranteed revenue standpoint, right? So that's how I looked at it from that A, and that's presented that to the team, and that's where we rewarding longer term stays as a revenue booster, and then charging a premium for 1 and 2 nights.
Yeah, I mean, to add on that, the method that this is not necessarily a medium term method. It's kind of in between short term and medium term method. But we also, like, in general, our entire business, we shifted how what we offer to our clients, which are investors like yourself, to allow them to do medium term rentals, right? Like, we were like, hey, short term rentals, it might work for your unit, but if not, like, we have the option to go medium term. Owner, do you want to? And so those of you that are self-managing, you absolutely should be considering the medium term. Now, that transition from short term to medium term, it's not just flip a switch, because there's bookings you have to cancel or you can't cancel. And, like, we're fortunate because we can kind of transfer someone from one unit to another unit, right?
Which we did. We moved
absolutely.
people around. We did.
Yeah.
And we had to ask. And I mean, the Airbnb rule is if you cancel on a guest, you are charged that. You have to pay for that whole thing. But if you can get them to move around, and that's the nice part about having multiple listings. Yeah. But we moved guests around doing this whole transition. But we filled a medium-term rental.
Yeah. So thoughts on medium-term rentals and strategies? I don't think we have enough time to dig deep into it. And I don't have the video posted yet. I don't know who commented that. I'll go find Ryan Davis. I have an unlisted YouTube video that we had Amelia McGee, I think her last name. Amelia. Yep. I can't remember that. Sorry, Amelia. But she came and spoke at our Tuesday. What was that?
She's writing a book on midterm rentals right now.
Sweet.
For bigger markets.
Cool. So, yeah, it's my struggle with medium-term rentals is the data is even worse than long-term, right? Like, you don't know what people are booking. You don't know the quality of units. You don't know what to do without testing it out in your market. That's my struggle with medium terms, but I'll go back to I've yet to find anyone who's failing at doing medium-term rentals. 2 years ago, I said I couldn't find anyone failing at short-term rentals, so hopefully that's not a kiss of death, but it is what it is.
So, I mean, if there's questions, guys, go ahead and ask. you have questions for us and you want to email us, our email is down there. If you want to also look at our Des Moines short-term rentals at gmail.com. If you, however, you want to go to our website, you can get us in contact from us from there. You can also, if you're, I see some newbies here or those that are wanting to learn. We have of our listings, right? Of the 5 of them that are there, they're some of the top ones in the bedroom. And I can prove it from a rank brief standpoint, but like, don't be afraid to copy and that's what I've done. And how we've done that.
R&D, rip and duplicate.
So,
cool. Okay. If anyone wants to reach out, please do. I don't see any other questions in there. Appreciate everyone joining, and we'll do this at least quarterly. Seems to be something folks like, and we enjoy doing it. It's a good refresher to me. I don't live in this data every day. I'm much more the passive investor. Cole lives in it, it seems like, along with his day job. So if you guys have any questions or want your current Airbnb analyzed, we're happy to do it and just provide goodwill to the community. Good?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Okay, one more question came in. Can you lease apartment to Airbnb? No.
Yes, you can. You need to have the owner, and when you sign a lease, be on the same page that you are doing this. A lot of people refer to this as arbitrage. I would make sure that you understand what rent is, understand what you can get, and is there enough for profit in there for the amount of work you're going to do. You can make money off this. There are like short-term rental secrets, Rob from Airbnb on Bigger Pockets. There are tons of people that do this and preach this, and Chai T does this as well, and he makes a lot of money doing this. However, right, you need to understand your regulations, and you need to understand is it profitable or not. And that it all goes back to doing the pre-work to do it. But yeah, and if it works, go for it, right? You don't have a charge of a house or an apartment. You just have what it takes to furnish it, right? But you need to check your boxes. So,
yep. And if anyone has any questions, we're no attorneys, but we can help you ask the right questions. So reach out. We'll give you, a couple dozen questions to ask to know, hey, does this make sense? We all love the business world. It's kind of what we live in. So we've definitely thought about this and considered it. Cool. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. As always, continue investing and learning real estate.